Welcome to Wasatch Weekends. I'm your host, Ben Roof. We've got a great show in store for you today where we will talk to Katy Wang of Park City Film about some of the upcoming movies they've got this week, and then we'll get some tips and tricks for preparing for physical activity in the summer heat. But first, a little bit of local news. The Park City School District unanimously approved the Educational Equity Plan that they've been working on for several years. The Educational Equity Plan 1006 is designed to create a safe environment for students that will help them succeed both socially and academically. But before we get into the show, let's take a look at the weekend's weather.
This weather report is brought to you by Sun and Ski Sports, your new mountain sports headquarters.
Welcome back to Wasatch Weekends. We've got Katy Wang joining us once more from Park City Film to talk about some of the upcoming programming. Welcome to the show, Katy.
Thanks for having me. Always great to be here.
Always great to see you. So tell us a little bit about what you guys have coming up. I believe you have the last couple of showings in the inside right now?
Yes, yep. So we're wrapping up our 2022-2023 season. It seems hard to believe, but because we had our 3-week break to do the seats, our little intermission, we've extended our season farther into June than we normally go. Which has been great to see. People have been loving the new seats, loving being in the theater because it's been quite rainy this month. And we're excited to wrap everything up with You Hurt My Feelings, which is a film that premiered at the 2023 Sundance Film Festival. It has Julia Louis-Dreyfus, Tobias Mendes, the New York Times Critics Pick, but just a great film to kind of wrap things up and kind of send everyone off for the summer into some of our summer programming. But this is really a film about kind of what might happen if people actually told you what they really thought. Right. It's like we tell each other so many white lies about, trying to be supportive and loving and helpful, certainly to the people that are close to us, when really the truth kind of remains hidden inside. So Julia Louis-Dreyfus plays a novelist her new book is about to come out, and she overhears her husband talking to a friend in a store about how he really just doesn't like the book, even though he's been telling her for years, reading all of these drafts, how brilliant she is. And just kind of what happens, like what's the aftermath of that? What do you do with that when your life is kind of upended by the reality of what people really think that they've not been disclosing to you over time? Nicole Holfestein, who's the director, is just such a brilliant writer of dialogue. It's kind of witty, it's moving, it's all of these different elements with just such great actors that bring it all together. So we thought this would be a great way to kind of round everything out, celebrate independent cinema before we head into the summer months.
It certainly looks like a really interesting atmospheric movie, taking on a little bit more of a complicated topic there. What else do you guys have coming up?
So after this weekend, we will then go into summer mode. So we'll take a little bit of a break, kind of wrap things up a little bit at the Santee, and then we're headed outdoors with a couple of free screenings throughout the month of July. So we're partnered with North Summit Unite, which is a new nonprofit that works in the eastern side of Summit County. And we have 2 pop-up screenings with them. On July 6th, we'll be out in Hennifer with Babe, of course, about the pig, the sheep pig, that based on the book. That's a great story that we're excited to bring back, and that'll be at 7 o'clock. Then we also were showing on July 20th, also in partnership with North Summit Unite, Field of Dreams, and that'll be out in Colville by the Ledges Event Center. So we thought a great summer film, of course, with Kevin Costner. And then we also have a free screening with Park City Library, but out on the patio. So you can join us at the library building, but outside. And we'll be showing Marcel the Shell with Shoes on July 14th, which is just a film we brought in when it first came out. People loved it. Everyone from my 10-year-old daughter to, our 70-plus-year-old patrons, just Marcel the Shell kind of captivated the hearts and minds of audiences across the country. And it's really fun to see him come back on the big screen.
It's an incredibly adorable movie that I personally really enjoy. I loved the short films too before the feature length. So let me ask you this. When the pop-up theater, how do you guys manage that? Do you have a movable screen? Is it inflatable? Tell me a little bit about the logistics and
Yeah, so
moving a
good.
movie
Yeah.
theater all over Summit County.
Right, right. No, good question. And so we have been fortunate for the past few years to partner with Dragonfly Media Technologies with our pop-up drive-in at the Utah Olympic Park. And so we are partnering with them once again, and NBS, which is a company that they work with, to pop up LED screens. So when we're out in Colville and Camas and Hanover and all these other places on the east side, you have this mobile LED screen, which means we can show movies starting at 7 o'clock because the screen kind of is lit from within. So if you ever go to like the World Cup or any kind of sporting event, you see the big jumbotrons. That's essentially what we're using, but to show the film through that so that you don't have to worry about starting late at night. When we're out on the patio in Park City with Park City Library, we're also partnering with Basin Rec on that one. Basin Rec owns an inflatable screen, so that one will be kind of more for traditional outdoor screening setup, and that will start later in the evening, about 8:30. But as we're getting kind of farther into July, hopefully it'll be warmer outside and not raining, fingers crossed. But also the sun sets a little bit earlier than it does right now here at the height of summer, so that we don't have to start quite as late. But so kind of a mix between the two. But on the east side, we wanted to make sure that we had the ability to start a little bit earlier. We're trying to appeal to younger audience members. We have not had the opportunity to screen that many films on the eastern side of Summit County, but certainly a very family-oriented community out there, and want to make sure that we can kind of put it at the best time possible. Whereas, when we're in the heart of Park City, we've got some different partnerships, and certainly with the Park City Library, we've had great success with the inflatable screen there. So kind of a mix it up a little bit for the timing, and give people the opportunity to come see films at times that they're comfortable with.
Well, and I imagine with the projector and everything, it's definitely a huge issue with ambient light. And if you're showing a feature length and you have to start after dark, it's hard to get the kids to bed on time. So I imagine those LED screens are hugely helpful.
Absolutely. And certainly when we're on the eastern side of Summit County, we are out in some places kind of in a field. And so then you really are worried about the sun kind of hitting it. When we're in the Park City Library, we've got that nice mountain behind us. And so the sun doesn't go down obviously faster, but the light from the sun gets hidden a little bit sooner because of the mountain behind us. So that's a nice benefit there. But yeah, having the LED screen has been kind of a game changer, certainly when we were doing the drive-in at the Utah Olympic Park, but to be able to bring it around the community in this kind of unique way has been really fun to see. We had a great screening out in Colville a couple of weeks ago, and people just loved it. We showed Charlotte's Web, and it was just fun to see all these families coming together to see this classic movie that's one of my personal favorites, to introduce this film to new audiences. Some of the young kids had never heard the story of Charlotte and Wilbur, and it was just fun to be able to bring that to them, particularly at the Summit County Fairgrounds.
I think Charlotte's Web was the very first chapter book that I ever read myself. It was one of my absolute favorites as a kid.
Yeah, E.B. White's one of my favorite authors, but the film, everyone always says, oh, the book's better than the film. Well, I think the films actually do a pretty good job for Charlotte's Web of living up to the beauty of the book itself.
It's definitely a great film. So as you guys are kind of moving more into the summer here, I know you got a bit of a lull, but after that lull, what else do you guys have on the schedule?
So we're looking at bringing in some more screenings in August. We've got some other pop-up screenings around the community and on the Park City Library patio as well, but we also have some indoor screenings. We're partnering with the Park City and Summit County libraries to show a free screening of the ski film Swift, Silent, and Deep, about the Jackson Hole Air Force, as they call themselves, basically a ski bum movie to partner with the One Book, One Community. Powder Days is the book this year, just basically about ski bum culture, what it was like back in the 70s and 80s and early 90s for people that just loved snow and fell in love with powder and tried to make a living out of it. And so the film will be a nice complement to that. We're also looking at doing some mountain bike films, kind of outdoor adventure films, but we're still in the process of programming that. So, definitely look at our website, parkcityfilm.org, to check out some upcoming events and see what's going on. Subscribe to our email blasts. We'll certainly be making announcements as the films get booked. And then we're back in action after Labor Day. So it's really, for us, it seems like summer goes by in the blink of an eye. So a little bit of a lull, but not for very long.
Awesome. Well, Katy Wang, thank you so much for joining us and for putting on such amazing films throughout the community.
Well, thank you so much for having me. And yeah, please come see You Hurt My Feelings this weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday at the Jim Santee Auditorium, parkcityfilm.org.
We got to make sure to get some butts in those seats before it's closed for the summer.
Exactly. They're new, so they're comfortable.
Exactly. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Katy Wang. And
Thank you.
we will be right back with a little bit more Wasatch Weekends after this. Welcome back to Wasatch Weekends. As we start getting more and more into the summer, experts are encouraging us to take more advantage of some of the new technologies available to us to help stay fit and active throughout the summer. Kim Perot at our sister station over in Colorado at Good Morning Vail had the opportunity to talk to some of those experts. Let's take a listen to that interview now.
Welcome back to Good Morning Vail. Now, while the weather here in Vail is just wonderful with 75 degrees, it is heating up across the country, and it is so important to be prepared when getting ready to do things in extreme heat. Joining us today are two revolutionaries in science and technology for staying cool in those extreme temperatures. We have Dr. Douglas Casa with us today, and also Chris Valletta, co-founder of Mission. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us.
Pleasure. Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. Now, you both have personal ties to being passionate about making sure people stay cool in extreme heat, because it is definitely the number one cause of weather-related threats. So tell us a little bit more about your stories.
Sure. I'll go first, I guess. I had an exertional heat stroke when I was competing in a 10K race on the track as a 16-year-old rising senior in high school. And that event shaped my life, and it shaped everything I've done for the last 38 years to try to figure out how to help soldiers, laborers, and athletes utilize known strategies and simple strategies to try to stay safer and perform better in the heat. So my life is certainly mobilized from that near-death experience I had back in 1985.
And then, Chris, you're a former NFL player as well. So tell us about you.
Yeah, and for me, the heat in relation to my ability to perform at my best as an athlete, it drastically impacted my game, both cognitively but also physically. It was hard to perform in those elements, and we knew at Mission when we started the company in 2009 that if we could create wearable cooling solutions for the most elite athletes in the world, we could bring those same cooling solutions to anyone who lives, works, or plays in the heat. So whether you're 5 years old or 90 years old, or regardless of where you live and in what conditions, or if you're one of the 30 million industrial athletes in the United States, people that work every day in the heat, we wanted to deliver solutions that would help keep them more comfortable, help keep them safer, and ultimately help improve their performance and productivity, just like we did for some of the best athletes in the world.
I love the purpose behind Mission, and Dr. Casa, what you do as well. So tell us why it is so important to be prepared in extreme heat.
Sure, yeah. I mean, when you exercise in the heat, your body temperature rises faster than it normally would. And if it rises too much, you could be at risk for exertional heat stroke. It's one of the 3 leading causes of death for athletes in America, and it's a known risk for laborers. I mean, people who recreate in the heat. So simple strategies people can utilize. Drinking cold fluids, hydrating when they need it, having the fluids nearby and not relying on rest breaks, just drink whenever you need it. Having cooling strategies, having cold, wet towels on you, or using them during breaks or even during exercise, or cooling hats, having shade when possible. Increasing the number of rest breaks and the length of rest breaks when the weather conditions are worse, and backing off on your intensity when the conditions are really bad or if you don't feel well. They're really simple strategies, cost effective, but they have massive implications in helping you stay safe.
I think it's absolutely important to know that you can still get a good workout in if you stay indoors. You don't have to be outside all of the time. Now, Chris, you mentioned you're taking your cooling technology from professional athletes and translating it into the everyday worker that's outside. Tell us a little bit more about what you're doing there. And it sounds like you've been partnering with UPS.
We have, and that's the goal, is to, when you look at the elite athletes, people, our partners at Mission, people like Serena Williams and Drew Brees and Dwayne Wade, who in their iconic careers performed in some of the hottest conditions, you could imagine. And our goal was to build products that could work for them and then bring them to places like UPS, who have a workforce that operates in hot environments. But As we said in our very first meeting with UPS, there is no single silver bullet solution to creating a safer, more productive, more comfortable employee in the heat. Mission creates wearable cooling solutions. We believe that's one of the most important, is that what is physically on the body of the worker, but then what is behind it, what's around it, what are the protocols, what is the awareness and education being delivered. And that is where our partnership with the Corey Stringer Institute and Dr. Casa, who are the leaders in understanding the science and research around heat safety, creates an ecosystem. So we have a partner in UPS that is taking a significant leadership position in creating the blueprint for heat safety for workers across the United States and the world. You've got a company like Mission who creates these product innovations and these solutions and is backed and in partnership with the Corey Stringer Institute, who are the experts. All of those are truly a trifecta that delivers more comfort, obviously improve safety, and ultimately improve performance and productivity so that workers don't even need to be in these elements as much.
I think that's so incredible, the work that you're doing now. Dr. Casa, do you have one piece of advice that you would give to a person who may be outside in extreme temperatures?
Yes, and that is they can control their own destiny. So use the simple solutions like hydration, cooling strategies, shade, having more breaks, listening to their body, that they need to control their outcome, and they need to listen to how they're feeling and make modifications.
Wonderful. Now, this is a question for both of you. This is a really exciting partnership you're doing with UPS, but do you expect other companies to partner with you?
We do, and we already have. Several of the biggest companies in the world have looked to us to provide cooling solutions to their workforce, and UPS has certainly created that blueprint with us over the last couple of years. It's been a phenomenal partnership. But companies in the airline industry with tarmac workers, we all see them loading bags on that hot pavement next to very heavy and hot equipment. Oil and gas workers, manufacturing facilities, you name it. Municipal workers, it goes on and on and on. All of them can benefit from active wearable cooling solutions and the protocols so that they themselves, as Dr. Casa said, can control their own destiny. If you are properly hydrated, if you are wearing things that give you sun protection, if you can wear active cooling apparel and accessories, if you can do all of those things, there's a very high likelihood you can avoid a heat-related injury. And that's true for whether you're young, old, or whether you're working every day in the heat.
I think that's absolutely incredible, the work that you're doing now. Where can we go for more information?
Sure. For us, it's ksi.uconn.edu, and UConn's UCONN. That's a website of the Corey Stringer Institute where there's a ton of information related to heat safety and preventing heat illnesses.
And for Mission, it's mission.com, where certainly you can learn about the wearable cooling solutions, but also our relationship with the Corey Stringer Institute, where we've got the Mission Heat Lab, which is where we test products and perform research studies to understand how we can improve worker safety and productivity in the heat.
Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us this morning on Good Morning Vail and being trailblazers in the industry of keeping people hydrated and cool in extreme temperatures. Now head on over to the websites for both, and we'll be right back after this.
This weather report is brought to you by Sun and Ski Sports, your new mountain sports headquarters.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Don't forget to check out tomorrow's episode where we'll be going to Murray to check out the new Sun and Ski location, as well as talking to Park City Gardens about their fantastic outdoor painting event. And then Tracy Miller will join us to show a fantastic tortilla soup recipe. Don't forget to check us out tomorrow, and we will see you there.